All right, welcome in everybody. So this is a module on how to get, keep, and leverage guests. So a lot of us are doing series where we're interviewing people and having experts on our shows and series. So this is a great module where you can find out if you don't know how to get guests, how to look for them, if you want to figure out how to keep them coming back. And then most important is how to leverage those guests for your own brand. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get going. All right, so let's talk about getting guests. So you want to find people that you would like to have as a guest, whether that is an expert, whether it's somebody who can give information that you want to get out there in the world. Your guests could be family members and friends. Maybe they're an expert in something, or maybe it's them sharing a story about their life, an authentic story, an inspirational story. So some of us know lots of people to reach out to and can go on for years with all the people that we know, but some of us don't. So some of us may want to go out and suss out guests. And if you don't know how to do that, these are just some ways to engage with them. So the first one I would say is to follow them on social media. So go to Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, all those places that you can find people and look them up and see what they're sharing in the world, see what type of content they're putting out in the world, see what other shows they're doing, what other series they're connected to, as it may spark an idea. And then DM them. If they have a small following under 10,000, maybe even under 20,000, chances are that they check their own DMs and they will get back to you. I find that if I DM people with less than 10,000, typically they will get back to me. And a lot of people are excited to be on a podcast or on a show or in a video just as much as you would be. So you can't get a no if you don't ask. So at least ask, right? Maybe it's not going to be the answer you want to hear, but maybe it will. So you got to at least try. And that's just one way to try. Then make sure you're checking out their blog, because if they have a blog, chances are they're sharing information that will speak to you, and it may give you a spark of idea of what type of topic. So you can come to them with an actual topic when you do reach out to them, because I find that people like when you give them the topic rather than them trying to come up with the topic. It goes back to thinking like a producer. So it may give you ideas about somebody and what to talk about. Then if it's a brand, research the brand, see if they have experts that they work with, that they, use all the time. So let's say there's an energy drink and you love this organic energy drink and it gets you through the day and you want to find out the science behind it or how does it work. So then you could go on their brand and research them and see if they work with people that are their brand ambassadors that you can tap into as well. So that's just another great way to not only interview people, but you can interview people about products by utilizing the humans that they use. Find topics that might interest them to be a part of or something that they can promote. So that's a reason to look into their blog, is to see what topics they are following and what they're interested in. Because if you can speak to that, they may be willing to come on. Maybe if you come across something interesting about them that not everybody knows, or maybe it's a story that connects back to your personal story. So if you can look them up and find that information, then you can come up with a topic that nobody else has that's really going to be authentic to you and your brand. So that's a great reason to really do your research on these people. Then going back to what I said about the energy drinks, if it's a product or even a service, just getting to know what that product is and what that service is, because then you can help serve that out to the world, having them on as a guest. So maybe it's a Reiki master who does Reiki on dogs. And so when you find that out, you're like, wow, I'd really love to do a show about dog Reiki and how that can help my pets or my cat or whatever, maybe it's pet Reiki. So it's just finding out those sort of unique hooks that are special to them and crafting an idea around that. Reach out to wellness brands in your target niche who have relationships with influencers or celebrities. So that goes back to what I was saying about the energy drink. If you reach out to a brand, they may have relationships not only with brand ambassadors, but celebrities. So celebrities love to promote. and they typically won't come on to a podcast or do anything unless either they're getting paid or they're promoting a movie or promoting a book or promoting a service that they love or a brand that they love. So if you happen to notice a brand that you really love and you have relationships with the marketing or PR teams and they have a connection to that celebrity, that's a great way to go after a celebrity and get to them. Because typically if you go through their PR person, their personal PR, you're not going to get that much luck. But if you go through a brand who has a deal with them, especially if they're paying them, your chances are so much higher of getting them. I just remember when I worked at E, they were trying to get a celebrity on, and it was through Danskin, the leotard company. And they had a relationship with a celebrity who was being paid. And because of that relationship, the celebrity that we wanted, we were able to go to Danskin and get them on the show as opposed to just going straight to their PR. So wellness brands, the brands that you love, connections with celebrities, that's a great way to go to reach out to their PR and marketing teams. So then once you've figured out who you want to get on, then again, you're going to go through asking. So reaching out, as I said, through social media, finding their email. So emails will oftentimes actually be on their websites, especially if they're bloggers with, again, maybe less than 100,000, maybe less than that. Their chances are they'll actually have an email contact on their website. So if you can go into their website and find them, I remember reaching out to Anita Morjani, and if you know who she is, she wrote Dying to Be Me, and I love her, and I love what her books are about. So I reached out to her asking her to be a guest on my podcast. Now, ultimately, she did say no, but her person got back to me, which I was so grateful, because a lot of times you reach out to somebody who's gotten to that level and they're not even going to get back to you. But she did found the website, the email on her website, and then now I at least have that in with her, so I can reach out maybe every 6 months, just constantly trying to invite her on and see if eventually I can get her on. So I'm one who doesn't give up. So that's another thing, don't give up. So you can find their emails a lot of times on their blogs and their websites. You can find the PR companies on the blogs. If you go to the bottom, the scroll to the very, very bottom of a website, a lot of times it'll say contact, and it might have the PR contact. If you go into the PR and the media contact, you can usually find those, or you can just look up, marketing for Nike, whatever that brand is that you want to reach out to. Just Google it. Like, research is your best friend when you're trying to find guests. And I learned all that from being a producer and working with celebrities. Like, when you can research different things, you can find that. So go into Google and see what you can find. Then once you get all that information, you're going to introduce yourself, say who and what you are and what you do. So there's three things that I would love for you guys to have when you reach out to people to be guests. Number one is a one sheet. So that's just a little one sheeter about yourself and who you are. And it just says, who you are, what you do, and a few little facts about you. It's a one-page little document. And we can drop one in the private group as well, so you can see that. And then you want to create a pitch deck about your show, who your audience reaches, and where you can find it and what time. So that might be like a page or two that has all the information about what your show is, what you do on the show, who you are, what time it airs, where it is, who your audience is, all the things that were mentioned, so that they can make a decision very quickly. Like, oh, okay, she's on Well World TV. She's got a series. It's seen every day by 10,000 people. And yeah, I want to be a part of that. So this just makes it really easy, so they don't have to go looking for you, because I always find that people don't want to go looking for you. They just want the information right in front of them. So a pitch deck about your show is a great way. And again, we can drop in the group so you guys can see what one looks like. And then send ideas for topics rather than wait for them to come up with them, which is what I said to you guys earlier. So if you can come up with 5 different topics, then you can say, here, I'd love for you to talk. I know that you're an expert in sleep, so I want you to talk about, how to get quality sleep after 9 o'clock, why you should go to bed before 9 o'clock, what supplements to take to get great sleep. So you just come up with, say, 5 topics and see if any of them speak to them, because that might help actually get them booked when they already know what the topic is and they don't have to think about it. And then number 3 on the getting would be to create a scheduling link. So you can use brands like Acuity and Calendly, and you can create appointments in there for them. So you just send them a link to book. So I do a thing with a pre-interview where I jump on the phone with them for 15 minutes just to talk about the show, what the topic's going to be, and then what assets I need, because I use video and photos in my series. So that's why I do that. So I create a separate link for the pre-interview, and you don't have to do a pre-interview. It's just something that I like to do, and I recently started doing, and I think it works really well. So everybody feels comfortable with what we're talking about, and then you can send that to them. And also you can get the information about, like, what do they want to promote? What's their website do they want to promote? Or do they have a special offer? You know, I just was a brand ambassador for a company, and they wanted to offer 20% off. So we came up with what the code was on that call. So it's a good idea to do a pre-interview, but you don't have to. And then the second link will be the one where you send them the record options. Like, I record on Mondays and Tuesdays, so I send them my link, and it has Monday and Tuesday only, the 4 times on Monday and Tuesday that I record my show, and then they can, you know, choose the dates that they want. Comes to my calendar. We both get a calendar email. So that's a great way to keep in contact with your guests. You don't have to. You can simply do it through email. I just have noticed that a lot of people who do podcasts now and video content are kind of making these things. So just a way to do it. So let's talk about keeping your guests. So once you have your guests, once you have them booked, you want to make them feel a certain way, because you want them, number one, to promote your content, right? So if they feel good and they enjoyed themselves, hopefully they're going to promote it for you, especially if there's someone who has a larger following than you, so that you can get some of their audience as well. So these are some of the things you can do to keep your guests. So number one, be professional. That means, for me, it's sending correspondence. I send them emails with my logo and my signatures of all my information of how to find me, the logo of the show, so it feels like it's a professional show. I mean, if you were booked on the Today Show, this is the type of stuff you would get. If you're booked on Ellen DeGeneres, these are the type of emails you would get that would say, like, you know, we're excited to have you come on, and here's all the information about the show. Here's what the topic is. Here's a description of your topic. This is what I need from you. And if you want, you can add questions. Some of my guests, I do add questions if I know it's a more complicated topic, so they're ready. And some I don't. It just kind of depends on what the topic is. So you can decide that if you want to. But I really like sending them official correspondence, and we can send you the Well World TV logo if you want as well, to have that be official. Number two, be on time. Be on time for your interview. If you have a Zoom call, or whether you're going outside to interview somebody on location, just show up on time. Don't show up 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, because that will be the first thing that will ding you, and that guest will not come back. So you want to be on time. Be courteous, obviously. If they're late, you know what? They're the guest. It's not great if they're late, but if they are, be courteous. You know, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just know that things happen, and just be as kind as you can about it, and understanding, and being courteous to them when they sit in, you know, when they come on, whether it's sitting down or whether it's, you know, on Zoom or StreamYard or whatever you're using. Be kind, gracious, thankful, thank them for coming on and for giving you their time. Be promotional. So that means, oh wait, I skipped one. Be engaging. So when you are interviewing people, it's not a interview. So tell me about this, tell me about that. It's a conversation. You want to engage with them as if they were sitting in your living room and sharing some tea with you. You want to be engaging with them and just share as if you've known them forever, whether they're your friend, a family member, somebody you've never met, because that will get them to, again, promote your show if they really enjoyed their time. So be as engaging with them as possible, be as gracious as possible, and just have a good time with them. And then back to be promotional. So you always want to mention their website, their social channels, where people can find them, because that's mostly why people do come on other people's podcasts. They're trying to build their audience, grow their brand, get their information out there, serve in the world. So as much as you can, put that promotion out there. Either you can do it at the beginning as well and at the end, but for sure do it at the end. You know, your website, social channels, where they can find you, any offers that they want to offer to the world. You want to make sure that you're giving them that information so people can find them. And then My last one would be invite them back. If you thought they were worthwhile and they were fantastic, I love when people have me on their podcast and they're always at the end saying, oh, you were great. We got to have you back on. We got so many other things we can talk about. That always makes me feel good and it makes me want to come back. And then it makes me want to promote them. So what I found with podcasts and video content is there's so much of it now that a lot of people who I have on as guests, they forget to actually promote the content. So if I'm inviting them back, then there's a higher chance they're going to promote my content, and that will be good for me as well as you. So you want to invite them back at the end if you can, so they kind of have that emotional connection to you. And then, of course, the most important step here is how do you leverage guests? So how are you going to leverage these guests? Once you have your guest on, no matter whether they've got 1,000 followers or 10 million followers, you want to leverage your content that you're creating. You want to actually get this content seen, and you want to get that message across and that information out there, and you want to help people and serve and all those things, the why of why you're doing this. So number one, I would say, is create promotional materials for the show to post on your social channels, and then tag your guests and brands. So you can do this on Canva or any of these other sites where you can create graphics and stuff. You can create a show graphic that it can stay the same every single time, has your brand, your logo, the name of the show, and then a picture of whoever your guest is, and then sending that on to them or their team, if they have PR marketing, whoever's, so that they can hopefully share that. Now, I find that not everybody does. A lot of times they do, but sometimes they don't. But at least creating it and having a signature look can get people interested. Plus, it creates that consistency where you're always doing it and people are always knowing, oh, she's got a show every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Oh, let me check that out. So that's a great thing to send to your guest. And then make sure that when you are posting it, even if they end up not posting it, make sure that you are tagging them. So tag that person, that's your guest or your expert, and then tag any brands that are connected to them, or just the brand if that's what you're doing. But you want to make sure you tag them so that they'll see your content, and even if they don't post it themselves, they'll share it. I'll find that most people not upload it themselves, but they will share it. So make sure that you are tagging them in those. Next is send tune-ins, promos, and links prior to airing, and promotional materials for social media to your guests. That kind of goes back to that, but the tune-ins are a great way to let them know to make sure that they promote it. So I'll send a tune in. Don't forget, tune in Wednesday, 11 a.m. Tune in, Wake Up Well, and they'll just have the information about the show. Make sure you like Well World TV and share it, or create a watch party or whatever you want to say in that language. But sending a tune in, I used to do that at Access Hollywood, and I know that the PR people really appreciated it because they've got so much going on, they can't remember everything. So to just have that quick tune in, the night before it airs, a few hours before it airs, whatever it is, sending them a nice little email, again, with your logo, your letterhead, just letting them know to tune in. And in that, you can also attach the assets that I said, the promo assets. I like to create a promo video. So if I'm doing video content and I have a 20-minute show, I'll do like a 60-second promo that I will edit in Final Cut Pro or iMovie, and I'll share that on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, and then I will actually send them a Dropbox transfer for that promo. Some people share it, again, some people don't, but I just think it's nice to share it, and then tagging them as well. And then same thing about the tune-ins is to send a post-show tune-in and then a link for them to share. So once it's aired, what I do with Wake Up Well is I put it on YouTube and then now Well World TV, and I create a link, and then what I'll do is I'll drop that link in an email, and I'll send a thank you for being on the show. We're so excited to have had you. Really appreciate your time and your energy and whatever you want to say. And then, here's a link on YouTube to share, and here's another promo, whatever it is, so that you're always sending them content to share. Because a lot of times people do like to have content, they don't know what to share on their social channels. So to have someone create that content for them is amazing. So you don't have to do that. I actually edit that stuff. So I have a little package where I can create 60-second videos for your social, which you can find out about in the group. And then lastly, to leverage your guest is to upload your content to as many places as possible. So YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, in your newsletters. There's so many places that you can be creating your content. So for me, I take my Wake Up Well show. It airs live on Facebook at 11 a.m. on Wednesdays. I create that YouTube link, like I said, and then I will put that YouTube link onto LinkedIn, and I will actually use just a 60-second version of it as the promo on LinkedIn, but then I have to watch the full episode here, do the same thing on Facebook to lead people to watch my full episode. And then I have a newsletter that goes out every Friday morning. So for that show, that's always the head of my newsletter, is the link to that episode. And then I kind of tie in the rest of my newsletter. So there's lots of different ways. You can break it up into stories on Instagram. If you say you'd only did your video was 2 or 3 minutes, there is an app you can use to actually break up your stories into 15-second increments on Instagram stories. You can upload it to IGTV. There's just so many different ways to utilize this content. So make sure it's not just one and done. Make sure you're putting it as many places as possible so you can leverage this content. And then when you do get these big giant guests who happen to have huge followings, you want to leverage that as best as you can. If you were out with them, you took photos with them, like let's say, I interviewed Deepak Chopra, I would take as many photos as I can to help promote it. And, if I interviewed Anthony Robbins, same thing, like anything that can help promote your content, utilizing their influence is a great way to leverage that. And the bigger guests that you get, the more you may be able to then monetize your content. And we're going to have a video, a module about that, about how to monetize your content. So that's it. How to get, keep, and leverage your guest. And look in the group for some of those things I talked about that I will drop in there, the one sheets and the PR material, so you can kind of see what that is. And thank you guys for watching this module.